How do I get rid of Copilot everywhere? Hi everyone, Leo Notenboom here for askleo.com. Here's a very common question. I don't want Copilot, and yet Microsoft is cramming it down my throat in Windows, in Office, in Edge. It's even in Notepad. How do I make it go away? Yeah, Microsoft is pushing Copilot very hard, and they're not being subtle about it, not at all. Unfortunately, while it's branded as a single thing, there are as many places to disable or hide Copilot as there are places it shows up. Can you get rid of it? Well, kind of, but not really. Can you hide it? Well, that depends on which of Copilot's many heads you might be talking about. So I can't promise we're going to get rid of it everywhere because it keeps popping up everywhere. But there are some places where we can at least tame, turn it off, or hide it. Let's go Copilot hunting. Before we get into the specifics, I do want to at least cover what Copilot is, because if you don't know what it is, even though it's in your face, you may wonder what the heck this icon is all about. Copilot is Microsoft's artificial intelligence AI assistant. I asked Copilot, what is Copilot? Here's what it said. Copilot is your AI companion built by Microsoft, designed to boost your knowledge, sharpen your ideas, and help you get things done with a mix of practicality and creativity. Think of it as a partner that can shift gears with you, one moment helping you debug a script, the next helping you imagine a Pixar-style scene with a mischievous motherboard, which, knowing you, feels right at home. Now, the description goes on. I'm not going to read the whole thing here. You'll find it on the companion article page, askleo.com/177830. But if you read through it, you'll see that it all reads like a lot of sales talk. And while that's not far off, it's also a reasonable overview of the kinds of things Copilot can do. Now, while I don't use Copilot often, when I do use any AI, I think of it as a relatively intelligent intern whose work I constantly need to double check. Is it a good thing? Well, that depends on how both you feel about AI and how you use it. Personally, I'm a fan. I play and experiment with it often, as I discuss in my article on how I use AI. Not everyone feels that way. And in particular, Microsoft's tacking Copilot onto everything is simply serving to antagonize the folks that aren't interested in AI, as well as annoying those who might be on the fence about it all. So let's get rid of as much of Copilot as we can. Now, I have to throw out a caveat because I know that people are going to say, hey, this didn't work, or it showed up in another place. The issue is that Microsoft is pushing and playing with Copilot something fierce. The instructions I'm about to give you apply as of this recording. But of course, they're going to change as Microsoft mucks things about. Getting rid of Copilot in Windows. In Windows, Copilot appears as its own app. It's actually pretty easy to hide that one. Here we are in Windows 11, and you can see the Copilot app shows down in the taskbar by default. Well, we can make that one go away. I'm going to right-click on it and just say unpin from the taskbar. That might be enough if you're only concerned about the visual distraction. However, you can also uninstall the Copilot app from your PC. We'll go into Settings, over in Apps, Installed Apps, and sure enough, there's Copilot listed as an app that you can, presumably, if we click on the ellipses, uninstall. And that's it. The Copilot app is gone. Now, there's an argument that since Microsoft is pushing Copilot so hard, it might be beneficial to use an uninstall tool like Revo Uninstaller to actually remove Copilot and more of its remnants. I've not yet seen a reason to do so, but since using Revo does result in a more thorough uninstall, perhaps avoiding future issues or a return of the tool. Then again, Windows Update could just as easily cause the tool to return, so you'll want to keep an eye on it anyway. Now, the next most common complaint I get about Copilot is in Office. The problem with Office is that there's no way to remove Copilot from Microsoft 365. We can neuter it, but it is a pain because what you need to do is visit each Microsoft Office app that has Copilot and deal with the options in that app. I'm going to start with Word since that seems to be one of the more common scenarios people run into. I've just fired up Word. I don't even have a document open. We'll click on Options. There is a Copilot setting section, and you can enable Copilot. Well, turn that off. The only thing that really does is if we have a document open, the Copilot icon in the ribbon is now gray. Honestly, that's, as far as I can tell, the only thing that checkbox does. It doesn't hide the icon. It just makes it inaccessible. Okay, fine. Unfortunately, that simple switch is not present in all Office apps. In fact, Word right now is the only one that I found it in. I'm told that they plan to add it to at least Excel, but I was told that months ago, and it still doesn't exist. So we need to dive into some more obscure settings. I'm going to, again, here in Word, go to File, Options, General, scroll down to Privacy Settings, and then scroll down to this section called Connected Experiences. Now, I already have this turned off on this installation. You may want to also turn off the turn on experiences that download online content. But turn on experiences that analyze your content is essentially AI looking at your content to make suggestions. Now, I know that many people believe that this is giving them permission to and they'll analyze your content and update their large language model. I don't believe that's part of what this means. In fact, if we take a look at the terms and conditions that we agreed to when we installed this stuff, I'm pretty sure that Microsoft says, no, we're not doing this. But nonetheless, people believe they are. This is a checkbox that, again, if you trust them, is going to turn off anything that uploads or analyzes your content. That's it. Now, like I said, you may need to do this in multiple Office apps. I've done it here in Word, but you may need to visit Excel, you may need to visit PowerPoint, you may need to see which of these options are in the various Office apps that you're using. They should be in the same or at least similar places if they're in those apps at all. Now, Edge. Well, Edge also has Copilot in it. So here's Edge, but you can see that, yep, there's that little Copilot icon. As it turns out, they've made this a little bit easier. I can right-click on that icon and just say Hide Copilot. And now they bring you to the settings for Copilot, which is a simple setting that says Show Copilot on the toolbar. Well, it's not. Now, these managed Copilot settings are not particularly useful, and I'm not going to show them to you. What's more interesting is while you are still in the Settings app, search for Copilot. You'll see that there are a lot of different settings related to Copilot. We've turned off Show Copilot on the toolbar, but there are still other settings like URL access. So we can set this to strict so that it's not going to do something that is contrary to what you want. But my recommendation here is to, again, since Microsoft is constantly changing this, is to make sure to search for Copilot in Edge settings and then examine each of the different settings that are available and make sure that they are turned off or set the way that you want them to be set. Now, Notepad? Yeah, Notepad. For whatever reason, Microsoft decided to beef up Notepad. And as part of that beefing up, they added Copilot to it. Honestly, this just doesn't make sense even to me. As much of an AI supporter that I happen to be, this is not what Notepad was intended for. The good news, of course, is that once again, we can turn it off. We'll go to Settings in Notepad, scroll down, and you'll see that there it is, Copilot. We'll just turn it off. And now when we go back to Notepad, the Copilot icon is gone. So those are Copilot settings in a number of different apps. As it turns out, even though Copilot is conceptually a thing, in reality, it's a per application or per situation thing. You can't fully uninstall Copilot like a normal app. In fact, you can't fully uninstall it at all since Microsoft treats it as a built-in Windows feature. If you encounter Copilot in places other than I've covered here, check the options available in that app or that place to see if it's controllable. You may need to dive deeply into some of the options. You saw how we had to go into some fairly obscure word settings in order to turn off the AI analysis of your content. Depends on the situation. Unfortunately, it is also very possible that there won't be an option at all. The bottom line here is, I gotta say it, do not be surprised when things change. Microsoft seems hell-bent on pushing Copilot on us hard, which means it may show up in more places. The approaches to turning it off or hiding it may change or be disabled. And it's also possible, perhaps even likely, that updates may re-enable it if you've turned it off. Expect to revisit your settings occasionally, just in case. I have to throw a request on this video. I welcome your comments below, I really do. But since Copilot is such a frustrating and honestly a very contentious beast, and Microsoft's actions are similarly frustrating and contentious, I'd request that you not bother posting comments that are simply complaints about this situation. We get it. We're all frustrated. We all know, and most of us already agree and feel the pain. If you discover other ways to turn off Copilot, absolutely. Comment on that. Let us know. Share your knowledge. But let's not turn the comment section into just a complaint section. Okay? Thanks. For constructive comments, for links related to this topic and more, visit askleo.com/177830. I'm Leo Notenboom, and this is askleo.com. Thanks for watching.